Welcome back to the Hair of the Dog podcast. Today, I am getting real and vulnerable with my friend Heather Lahtinen. We are talking about what happens when your worst fears about a potential situation come true. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Hair of the Dog podcast. If you're a pet photographer ready to make more money and start living a life by your design, you've come to the right place. And now, your host, pet photographer, travel addict, chocolate martini connoisseur, Nicole Begley.
Welcome back to the Hair of the Dog podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Begley, and today we have the one, the only, Heather Lahtinen joining us here again to talk about decision making.
Yeah, decision making is a real issue when you're an entrepreneur, specifically a solopreneur, because guess what? It's all on you.
And there's a lot of decisions.
There's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of pressure, and one could interpret that as stress. Because if you make a bad decision, well, it's on you. You can't blame anyone. You can't be the victim here because you have to take 100% responsibility. As a result, I know a lot of photographers that suffer immensely from decision fatigue because they worry about every little decision and the impact it's going to have on their business. So we're going to tackle that today. Nice.
Excellent. Because, deciding to start a business is one decision. It's a pretty big one. And then I would venture to say I probably make decisions make a decision at least 15 times a day.
Right.
It actually might be like 150.
It's a lot. So I'm glad you brought that up because I break this down into three basic categories. There are micro decisions, which is what you're describing. These are the little things that all decisions matter because there's no such thing as a neutral decision. A decision is either moving you forward or it's harming you and holding you back. So not neutral, but micro decisions, the stakes are really low. It's just really minor things.
Like we might maybe I should offer this acrylic block as an add-on for my session.
Right.
Yeah,
very
people
minor.
buy it or people don't. Whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no real major consequence to that decision. Then there are medium decisions, ones that you want to think about for a minute, such as what website platform do I use? And what do I do about SEO? And do I hire someone to do that? Okay, those are, I would call those mid-level decisions. But the consequences, there are consequences, but they're not huge. Those are macro decisions, bigger. I'm just using the word macro to describe decisions that have more of an impact on your business and could have serious consequences. And these are decisions about, around maybe if you do an IPS model versus,
I was going to say though, I would put that as around decisions that might affect your brand perception. So if you're a high level, you want to be high touch, high level boutique business, and you're like, oh, maybe I should do that Groupon thing because I don't know, I need some clients.
Right.
That would be a macro decision because that could have some pretty big stakes. That could drastically change the perception of your business.
That's a really good point. And then I like to think about my decisions in terms of these categories. And then I like to think of the consequences. So what is the worst that could happen? If I'm really struggling, I'll ask myself, what is the fear here? What would happen if that fear was realized? What would I do? Again, I'm talking specifically about mid and macro decisions. Micro decisions we don't even need to just do it.
Yeah,
just make a decision and just do it. But these bigger ones, yes.
If you're finding for a decision that you're like, I know I need to make the decision, but you're procrastinating on it. I find that procrastination is often not knowing what to do next. They don't know the steps, or a fear of what could happen. So do you find that those are often the two of the things that are maybe blocking people from making decisions in their business?
100%. So the first one is lack of clarity. Maybe I don't have all of the information, or maybe I haven't defined exactly what it is I want. So that would be the lack of clarity. And then the second one is, well, okay, what if I have the clarity and I've made the decision and it's maybe risky, then what are the potential outcomes and how would that impact me? And that fear, certainly, I said this to someone recently. I said, in terms of decision making, we don't want to be the arbitrator of catastrophe in our own lives. Nobody does. Okay. Nobody does. But what if the stakes really aren't that high? number one. And number two, what if you could trust yourself? I think there's a trust component here that even if you don't have all of the information, that whatever decision you make, you are making the best one based on where you're at right now and the information that you have. Therefore, you need to release yourself of the future possibility of potential guilt if this goes sideways. And notice my wording there. Nothing's happened yet. So we don't know. Yep. So, but people tend to beat themselves. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, maybe you shouldn't have. Okay, so what? You learned something and now you will make the next decision from a better position because you will now have more data. I think if you really start to look at these things, write them down and think about it, you should, I hope, feel better about making decisions in your business, especially the micro and mid. And by the way, I would argue people are thinking that mid decisions are actually macro and they're not. They are overemphasizing the potential consequence of what website platform they choose when it does not matter.
Right.
I mean, there are certainly consequences to choosing one over the other. And does one manage SEO better, et cetera? And what about galleries? And do I want to incorporate my CRM? And what does that look? Sure. Okay. Those are things to consider. But you could shift. You know, if it didn't work, you could shift without.
Try out a CRM. And if you're like, man, this thing is way too complicated, you just stop and you move on to something else.
Right.
The only, I think the biggest risk is when we don't allow ourselves to pivot, because have you ever done this where you feel like, all right, I'm too invested in this. Now 100%. I can't change.
Yes. So I have an example.
There's a skill, I think, in trying to rectify or try to find out that time you're like, okay, I've invested this much. It's a time to cut the lines and like re-pivot here. Or do I keep going?
Yes. I invested in Infusionsoft before Kajabi existed. Right. Do you remember that?
Yes. This was years ago.
Yeah. And Infusionsoft, they call it Confusionsoft. Okay, it's true. It is a very, very expensive platform. It's very robust. It does a lot of things. It did way more than I needed, but it was
I don't know that anyone even really uses that. I don't hear anyone talking about it.
I hear a few, but the only reason I selected it was because it was literally the only platform that could host online courses.
Oh.
So this was like at the new beginning, of that season. So I had invested a lot of time, energy, money, and resources, like way more than I was getting back from it. And Kajabi came around and it was very limited in its functionality, but it was much less expensive. And it just looked like it was going to fit more. Infusionsoft was very clunky and it was old. And two problems here. One is what you just described, which is, shoot, man, I'm so invested in this. And setting up a new system, I know is going to take a lot of resources.
That's like the people that like maybe started off on some website, like a Wix free one, and they're like, oh, well, now I need to like build one on my own domain. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's this whole thing.
Right.
So that was one, and that's a pretty big aspect for a lot of people. But let me tell you about the secondary one that can be more deadly because it bubbles beneath the surface, and that is ego. And the ego is like, well, if I switch, I am admitting that I made a bad decision. And then I'm a loser. And who can run a business?
I stink at this and that I shouldn't be a photographer.
That's it. I have no business doing this because I clearly made a bad decision. So the ego was definitely involved. Now, the way I circumvented that was I told myself, it was like, you ever have these conversations with yourself in your head? It's hilarious. It's like, who's doing the talking and who's doing the listening? I don't know. But I said, Heather, it was the only thing available. Like you literally did the best you could at the time. Kajabi didn't exist. And now you know better and you want to save money. And so I didn't, listen, I'm a pretty fast decision maker. I didn't stay there long. It was, in fact, I got in touch with you and I said, hey, there's this new thing called Kajabi and I'm going for it. And you better get in right now because they're grandfathering pricing, which you did. And thankfully, we both made that decision really, really quickly around the same time. And remember, Kajabi was extreme. They didn't even have email.
Right. It was very limited.
Very limited. I had to get
really
MailChimp.
Just a course platform
That's
at the time. Yeah.
That's it. So I had to actually get two new applications, MailChimp and Kajabi. But the Kajabi developers were saying, we're going to build this up. That's why we're getting you in on the ground level. And you're never quite sure about that, in terms of developers. But something in me, like my gut was like, I trusted them.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be an extraordinarily wise and prudent, good decision because they have just increased everything. They have email now, of course. I was able to drop MailChimp. You can do just about, I mean, there's a few things you need to plug in, but for the most part, it can do everything that we need. But that was 100% at that point. That was a macro decision. The switch was a macro just because it had major impact on my time and my resources and my courses. I had people in my courses.
Right.
So I had to map everybody over, but I did it fairly quickly and without too much hesitation or concern. I mean, I weighed the consequences and I was like, what are the options here? I stay with this clunky software that does way more than I need, that costs 3 times as much. And I'm not seeing the return on that.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest risks too are people stay there too long and they waste so much time with one foot in, one foot out, not making a decision, fretting about the decision, worrying about what's going to happen. And in the meantime, they could be halfway done.
That's right.
with the new whatever decision was made.
That's right. I actually have a friend, I'm thinking specifically of a story recently where she's still on the fence about a decision. And I said, excuse me, hey, how long have we been talking about this? Has it been about 2 years? How helpful is it for us to keep revisiting this? How about you just make a decision? People just fear making, and I'm going to use air quotes here, they fear making the wrong decision. I just don't believe that's a thing.
Right.
You make a decision and either it works out or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, guess what? You change it.
Right. And you
do
have
something
now
else.
more information to make a better decision.
Exactly. So I make decisions quickly. I know you do as well. And I have little tolerance for people who are like, I'm just not sure if I should buy that Lexar SD card or the ProMaster. I don't know. Are you kidding? That is so micro. Micro. Buy the SD card. Who cares if it doesn't work out, And yeah, there are certainly dollar amounts tied to these decisions. If something is pretty inexpensive, it's micro. If it's really expensive.
I feel like we need to add to the shop a shirt with your face on it that just says, that is so micro.
I love that. So micro. And then on the back, did you die or will you get mauled by a bear or something? No, I see it's frustrating, Nicole. The truth is, as a coach and a leader, I see people spinning their wheels and wasting time on decisions that it doesn't warrant that level of effort. They just don't, so I ask them, like, how serious is this decision? Really, truly, don't give me that this is like some big thing when it's not. What's essential for your business? How can you look at this so that it's light and easy? Because here's why. I'm going to argue the macro decisions you make in your business are very few and far between. You're making 150 micro decisions a day.
Yeah.
But you might make one macro decision a year.
Yeah.
Like one that seriously could impact your client base, your income, your business. Those are just not as common as people think they are.
Yeah, we build them up in our head and make the micro mid and the mid macro.
100%. And then they make up these stories about what might happen if they do this certain thing. And I say, stop. It hasn't happened yet. So you're making up a story about something you haven't even done. How about you do the thing first? And then we see what happens and then we deal with it. But don't make up the story.
Yeah, I mean, this happens even if it's not decision making. It's just called worry. Like, for instance, my daughter was worried about. She took a test yesterday, a math test, and she's like in this high level math thing. So it's a little stressful, and she's like, I don't know if I got this, I could take the retest and I get that and this. And I'm like, how about you go to the barn and have fun and not worry about that decision until you find out what you actually got on the test.
Right. There's an idea.
There's no reason to be causing yourself any stress about this right now because you can't do anything about it. The test is done. Let's just wait and see what happened, and then you'll make a decision.
Yeah. I heard somebody explaining this recently. He's an author, and he said he hears all these people say, I want to write a book, but I just don't know what I would do with all those negative reviews.
Right.
Okay, well, you haven't written the book yet. So why don't you write the book and then we'll see what we need to do because you're going to get negative reviews. Like that's going to happen. But you're like borrowing trouble from tomorrow that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it really is stealing your joy today. Like you said, just go to the barn, ride your horse, have fun, be in the moment. Whatever happens with this test, you'll deal with it.
Right.
And it's not the end of the world, even though I understand for a teenager, it can feel that way. It can feel very serious, but they don't have our perspective. So that's fair. But we could help them maybe see it. Oh, by the way, speaking of helping people see things, I don't think I made a formal announcement on your podcast yet, but I'm now a certified CBT practitioner, cognitive behavioral therapist. So watch out.
Amazing.
Thank
NLP,
you. NLP,
XYZ, not all the things.
I love all of those titles, but it's really helpful. They're just different modalities to help people move forward and get unstuck.
And make decisions.
Make decisions. Because here's another thing I like to say. People say, I'm so stuck because this decision is, they think it's macro, it's not, but I'm so stuck. To which I respond, are you stuck or did you just stop?
Are you actually in quicksand?
Right. You stopped because, look down at your feet. Are you in mud? No, you just stopped because something you tried didn't work.
Right.
You're not stuck. You just stopped because you could take action and do something differently. You have to continue to take action to move forward. If you stop taking action, that's when I would worry, actually.
Right.
If you want to avoid all decisions, good luck.
Well, and then I think once you stop taking the action, it becomes a heck of a lot harder to start again.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I know I've been trying to learn some Italian, and if I take some days off, it really quickly turns to a week, and then a month, and then a couple months, and then starting again seems like this mountain where it's really just 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day of like conjugating a verb and learning a new word or two. Like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah. Well, that actually sounds really complicated to me. Conjugating verbs. I'm not into that, Nicole. You can keep your gerunds. You can keep your participles. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is when I'm learning these things, because I was never really like an English grammar kind of girl. Like, give me the science and the math and in the spreadsheets and the color coding.
Yeah.
But when they are explaining, this is a past participle, I'm like, what the hell is a past participle? I don't know in English what a past participle is.
I know.
All of you grammar people out there, this is why I have Copy Kim to help me with my grammar and my emails.
I learned something new the other day. Somebody said that somebody was talking in the past perfect present tense.
Oh, yeah, see, there's too many P's. I just
what? I was
drop off the P's.
I don't know what that means.
The 4
past
P
perfect.
tense.
Yeah, past perfect. Okay, but I want to pivot here now because you recently made a very big, and I agree, this is 100% a macro decision in your business. Can you tell us more? And by the way, initially, I want you to just stick to the facts, okay? The facts of the decision. What happened?
It's one of those things where, there's something that you need to change, but you don't know what it is you need to change yet. So you just know that in the back of your head, like, I need to do something. This is not working. How this currently is not working. I can't do what I intend to do here because of the situation, but I don't know what the answer is. So I'm going about my day. Well, my other year, because this bubbling of trying to figure out what the solution was going on for years, and really about 2 years. And then what day was it?
It was Monday, October 4th.
Okay, there you go. Monday, October 4th. Was that the same day that Facebook went down?
That is the day Facebook went down.
So that was the day that Facebook went offline for a couple hours, and some people were really distraught, and some people were like, oh, that was great. But regardless, that happened, and Heather, my dear counsel, and just always testing things with me too, it's like, hey, you know what? Kajabi has this community feature. I'm going to test it out. Just going to see. I'm like, all right, whatever. And at that time, I recall saying to you at that time, I'm like, I am not going to move off Facebook because my people are there. It's easy. Like, it's just, no. I think I just said no 5 times.
Yeah.
But anyway, that truly at that day, this macro decision that I was making wasn't even clear to me, but I knew there was a decision that needed to be made. And then over the past couple weeks, I just start to hear it's like that my reticular activating
that's it.
system
100%.
was, it was ding, ding, ding. You're looking for options. You're looking for options. And I started to hear about these circle communities, and people in my mastermind were using circle, and other people in these other groups, and it's circle, circle, circle. And I'm just like, what is this? So then I went and I checked it out, and then my mind started spinning of all the incredible ways that I can serve my paid clients and our free community in this group, in this platform. And then something happened, which is, again, my clue of like, oh, this is something that I need to pay attention to, because I felt totally aligned with it.
Right.
I was like, there was not one piece. I was like, I know there's going to be pieces like the doing a live video is in beta. It's coming out to everybody soon, but that's not quite there yet. But there's some workarounds. There's a couple other weird little workarounds, because they're like Kajabi was when we joined.
Yes.
Like it's early, but their commitment is we are only a community platform. We're not trying to be a course platform. And it's the only community. That is all we are doing. And so they're doing it well. So it's probably like 3 weeks after that. So probably late October.
Well, let me back
20th,
up and
maybe
say
even October 15th. It might have only been like a week or two after. I was like, no. And I was like, Heather, so you should watch this. I just got on the phone on a Zoom call with somebody at Circle, and they walked me through this platform, and you need to watch this.
literally you spun up really quickly. So Monday, October 4th, I get you on the phone.
No.
And you're saying no. And I'm like, I'm turning it on. I actually had a Kajabi community up and running when Facebook was still down. I took my elevators, put them over there and said, hey, let's just test this out. I knew it was lacking functionality, but the seed had been planted.
Yeah.
Then I think before you started hearing about Circle, you actually, so take it back one step, your RAS, reticular activating system, started to hear and see all these people who were just saying, we're getting off of Facebook. We can't.
100%.
We can't depend on it. We can't rely on it.
And so many of my students are like, the only reason I'm here is for this group.
Yeah.
Or like in the paid, like to go into my academy group and whatever. Like,
so we weren't.
And sorry, the other thing with the Facebook too is just, I feel like the what's the word I'm looking for? The environment is changing. With the iOS updates, new privacy laws, the way that Facebook is just selling your information to everyone all the time. When I'm on there was on there one day I was scrolling and it was like an ad every other item.
Yes.
I was like, this is going to change considerably. And besides the fact that it can just be gone and taken away. I knew so many people that got put in Facebook jail and couldn't access their groups, their pages, their own personal page, had their ads taken down for something they said on their personal thing, on their personal Facebook page like 3 years ago that wasn't even anything.
Right.
It was just like the automation bots find it and are like, oh, that's flagged because it has some word in it that's totally taken out of context. So there were a lot of things that I'm like, I need to find some other solutions.
It was all happening very quickly at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
there was one other, I'm in Michelle Parsley's painting community Beyond the Brushes. And if you guys want to learn how to paint Photoshop, she's the best. And when she started that membership, adamant that it wasn't going to be on Facebook. So she has a Mighty Networks community, which is great. So I was looking at that, but I was looking at Circle too. And then when I got on the call with them, I'm like, this is it.
Yeah, you knew right away. Yeah. But, prior to that, the decision was already percolating and kind of already made. Like you maybe didn't say it yet, but it was like, oh, we have to find a tool. But that was like secondary. That was The problem was, I don't want to be relying on Facebook. There are so many issues. It's very dangerous to put all of your eggs in one basket. There are things that we need, but
it wasn't serving my community because you can't find anything. I would go live in there or post something. Nobody would see it. And I'm like, how can I possibly help anyone if no one can even see it? And there are so many reasons. I mean, I have a laundry list.
Many reasons.
We're not here to just go on that list.
Right.
Ahead, sorry.
Right. So we knew, honestly, I think if we went back in our conversations for the past couple years, there was always kind of a hint of this beneath the surface of like, there's this tiny bit of fear I have, this crack of like, if they closed my business page and my Facebook groups, I would be in a serious bind. And so that danger, we knew that risk, but again, we justified it. Well, everybody's on Facebook and this is what we do. And we just kind of let that play out until the outage, which was like a gift from heaven, because it forced us to think differently. So that Monday, I said to you, I'm not even exaggerating. I think it was like by the end of the week. I don't think it even took you 2 weeks. You were like,
maybe.
You were like, wait a minute, Heather, wait. You were like, wait, I think we should do this. I said, yeah, I know. You go first.
Yes. You're like, I'm going to gather some more data. Go.
You go.
Like, okay.
But you did. But listen, everything you do in your life and your business, you are a fast decision maker.
Yeah.
But that's because you understand your business, who you are, what you value, what the stakes are. You have all of the data. And you trust yourself that you have all of the data. So you're not this type of person who's like, I need to take a class. I need 5 classes. I need 15 instructors. I need a mentor. I need a coach. I need to help me make this. No, you were like, I trust myself. I know what's going on. There are so many clues pointing me in this direction. I would actually be stupid to ignore everything that's coming around me. Then you jumped on with Circle. You got the information. You jumped right into the trial. You started playing with it. You added me. We were like, this looks amazing. It's so clean. It's so simple. And it's only a community. So at that point, so this is like, October timeframe, even heading into like November and the holidays, you had said to me, this is 100% happening. Like I made this decision.
After the summit, it was like, because my team was all hands on deck for the summit, which was the beginning of November. And then it was like, I'm like, all right, guys, we don't have any big stuff like after the summit, we're all prepping the Circle community. It's going to be a January launch.
Okay. As you're doing that and you have everybody on board, what would you say at that point was your biggest fear? What is the risk?
I don't think I even thought about the risk, quite frankly. I mean, I had been thinking about the risk for 2 years.
Right.
Of everybody is on Facebook. No one's going to go to another platform. I had been thinking about that for 2 years. And so by the time I made the decision, that had its time. It wasn't allowed to come up anymore because we're done
allowed.
Yeah, like we already decided that you're worthless. Go.
Yeah.
back down into the deep corners of my subconscious. You go.
Right. But that was the biggest risk.
Yeah, I had made peace with it.
Yeah. That's really actually the only risk. I mean, you and I poured over this for a very long time.
The risk, and then the risk of myself and my team diverting resources and time and money to that for months. Because it took a good 8 weeks to build it out and figure out how we're going to use it, and watching different other tours of other communities and how we could use it, and bringing in free resources. So, I mean, my whole team was working on this, and then figuring out how to actually get the people in with the right tags so the members see the member area. There was a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get that ready to go.
Significant amount of time, energy, resources. And when I say resources, I mean straight up money. Like you had to pay money to purchase Circle, and then you're paying your team in order to work on things and test things out. So by the time you're hitting, like, say, maybe right before Christmas and we're about to head into January, you were pretty like, we're good to go. This is happening.
So
you were excited, like so excited, because the premise was, I'm going to serve people better.
Yeah.
This is going to be, I'm doing this not because I want more work.
Right. I will serve both my paid clients and then also our free community. I can serve everyone so much better in that one space instead of having to go check in 8,000 groups. And in the free one, you can't even see anything anyway, because it's just gone.
Yeah.
Like it just moves so fast.
It moves so fast. It had kind of taken on a life of its own, like its own entity.
For sure.
And it got a little watered down. That's always the case whenever numbers get really big. So you wanted to tighten things up and make sure that you were serving people at the highest possible level, whether they were free or paid.
Right.
Like that was, so we go into January. When was your cutover date? I can't remember.
January 11th.
Okay. So we're heading into the first week of January, and you're like, it's go time. This is so exciting. This is going to be so fun.
And let's back up. I invited the members in January 4th.
Okay.
So the members got to come in a week early.
All right. They played around.
And the feedback from my members was off the charts excited. Like
really
99% amazing.
What was some of that? What were they saying?
Your member groups are like the Academy groups. The only reason I was still on Facebook. I'm so excited to have this in one place. I'm so excited to be distraction free. Thank you for, not having me be tracked by all the ads, like just all of the things across the board. So excited to have this new space.
Fantastic. So with that knowledge, you go into your free group on Facebook, which is the Hair of the Dog podcast community with just over 14,000 members. I mean, this is a really big group. And my fear for me is obviously we're going to lose people. There are going to be people that just don't want to make the change. And that's totally fine. I get that. But we believed that serving people at a higher level was more important than the risk of potentially losing some.
Right.
That was a decision. That's a macro decision. That is I am the CEO of this business decision. Yeah. And I am deciding that I believe this is what's best for my
and I'm going to have to wear these pants no matter how it turns out.
That's right. And you post about it. And what was that like?
It was not positive.
Not positive.
I mean, that's saying it nicely. There were some people that had been in there and like, oh, you guys is awesome. But it's a general rule. And, this happens, I think, anywhere, that once you see something that has like, you're shopping on Amazon and it has like a 1 star and then everybody just like piles on. So it's like whatever that energy at those first couple reviews are, it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. That did come with an extra stamp. That's right. 1 star. Do not recommend.
That's hilarious. And true. Yeah, it's called groupthink. One person does it and then everybody else is like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, I agree. So the response was, I would classify...
Less than enthusiastic.
Less than ideal. Less than optimal. Yeah. It was just, there was a lot of negativity around it. How did that hit you?
Well, it hit me as I think it hits any human, which was like, oh my God, I made the wrong decision. My business is going to burn to the ground. This is terrible. I'm going to have to sell everything and live in a box.
We're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to be homeless because I decided to move my free community. So yeah, that's where it initially went. Didn't stay there too long. And then...
Gosh, what were the stages? Yeah. It was like a stage.
There were stages.
Yeah.
It was definitely, it was definitely a questioning of, did I make the right decision? And then there was, I'm going to be truthful here, there was a little bit of anger. Yeah. Because I was like, you guys. And I think the anger came from the individual attacking of me, which then my ego was like, because it was people questioning my integrity and my motivation.
Your character.
My character of that I'm only creating this free group to make money.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait, I'm actually paying to host the free group. So I'm making less money.
You are paying.
But anyway, regardless. So it went from questioning myself to anger. And then I chose to change my focusing on the people that wanted to give it a try and just being excited to serve them in a new way.
How long would you say those stages lasted?
First one, an evening.
Like, yeah, in total though, like the whole process till you got to the point where you were like,
48
I'm going to
hours.
serve. Yeah. I was going to say a day. Yeah. You were like, oh gosh, you posted
probably 24 because it was like the first night that it was like, oh my God, I boxered you. I'm like, yeah. And then the next day was the anger day. And then it was, by that night, it was like, no, I'm serving. And that's what I'm going to focus on because I get to choose what I focus on in this situation.
I'm serving. I stand behind my decision. I will absolutely listen to feedback and ideas, of course, but I stand behind my decision to serve my people at a higher level. And I believe this is in our greater good and it's my call. So I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm going to move. No, you moved through it really quickly. Maybe, dare I say, even a little faster than I did on your behalf. So you Voxered me that night and you said, wow, this is not going well. People are very upset. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, I'll deal with it in the morning because this was late evening. And I got up the next morning and I blocked off my schedule and I called it HOD day. Hair of the dog day. And I went into that thread. It had 179 plus comments on it. And I read every single one and I responded to most of them. But what really triggered me, well, okay, there were several things. One was that you were doing it for the money.
Right.
And people were saying things like, I would say, no, it's actually costing Nicole money to do this. To give you a free platform is costing her money. And then people would say, well, what's the catch? Okay, wait, why does there have to be a catch? How about I want to serve people? They were making these assumptions about you that literally blew my mind because I've known you for a lifetime and I was with you for 3 months as you worked on this decision. And I know your heart and your character and your integrity. And you are one of the most top-notch people I know. And I was furious that people were making these assumptions about who you were as a person or what you were trying to do. How about you actually explained it very well, but ask. You think that she's trying to get one over on you, right? Okay, what is that exactly? Like none of these people, I'm kind of fired up. None of them thought through. I'm gonna try to calm down. I'm gonna try, but they didn't think through what they were actually saying. Like the money comment, she's trying to make money. Okay, she's trying to promote her brand. She actually has a right to promote her brand in a group that she creates for free and pays money for. Okay, she has the right to do that. That's free enterprise. So and by the way, people were so upset. And I was like, you don't have to go. You don't have to go.
Right.
Nobody, because somebody said she's forcing us.
Yeah,
and I said, who's forcing you to do anything? There's no coercion here. You know, she is offering you a better platform so that she can serve you more effectively. And you don't have to go. And then there's all this I find this to be slightly passive aggressive. I could be wrong, but people saying, oh, I'm just so sad. Okay. You're sad about a Facebook group?
Then come join us.
Then go join. Yeah. It's free. Why do you have to be sad about this group? Is such a great resource. I'm sad to see it go. It's not going. It's shifting. It's on another platform and it will be better. We promise you it will be better. Yeah. So people saying that, you're trying to get money, you're trying to promote, you're trying to do all these things. And what about us? And what about the people? And why isn't she listening? I just can't. I was very.
I know. I think I had moved to I'm focusing on serving and you're still like, but I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. We'll tell them what's happening and here's where we're going. And this is why, and come join us because it's truly, I had at that point let go of feeling responsible for other people's decisions.
Well, there you go. Right. And their emotions and their reactions and their assumptions. Because they're going to assume.
People are going to assume whatever they want, and I can't control it. And then after all this happened, I was like, Heather, we need to do a podcast episode because this is, I think, what holds so many photographers back from a partner marketing venture, telling people you're a photographer because it is very personal. You're putting your work out there, which is attached to you. Like Hair of the Dog's a personal brand mainly. It's about me. Like you can't do what I just did to move to that community and not say like my heart and soul wasn't in that. So therefore any attacks seem very personal. So I don't know. I see so much paralleleness,
right?
Parallel pieces to this versus marketing our photography business. And the difference is this will likely never happen to you by just saying, hey, I take pictures of dogs.
Right.
You want to see these cute pictures? So anyway, that's why I felt like we needed to kind of just pull the cover back on this and let people know what it felt like when it went through and like kind of my different stages and then how I was able to shift that.
Brilliant.
And, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks that this has been open and it's been freaking awesome. There's conversations in there. People are asking for help. People are sharing. People are getting help. There's the gear sales. People have sold like gear. They've made money. People have made money with stuff that's been sitting in their office. They're like, I should really sell that now.
Right.
It's been so good. And by the way, if you guys are listening, you're like, well, maybe I want to check it out. Go to community.hairofthedogacademy.com and come join us, or hairofthedogacademy.com/community. Either one will send you there.
And so much of this was done to not only serve, but to protect. You're like the police. I mean, you're going to serve and protect because of the way Facebook is managing things now, which is less than ideal. there's nothing but positive from this, except for the negative. Except for the negative comments. But yeah, you're right. The point of the podcast is to say, listen, your worst fear could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to try to avoid it. We're not going to stop making decisions because our worst fear could happen. We are going to better prepare ourselves for when it does, because something might, let's say you make a decision about your business and, here's one. I think this is relevant. You're going to have to guide me here, but some people support hunting dogs and some people do not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you decide to support hunting dogs and you post something on your business page and you get a comment from one person that says, this is so disappointing. I was going to buy from you. I was going to hire you and give you my money. And now I guess I just won't because you do this and you are a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
Are you prepared? Nicole, I'm telling you.
That is a perfect segue. 100%.
Crush people. That would crush most of the photographers I work with. That would crush them. And that would set them back, I don't know, weeks, months. It would take.
And here's what happens. They would then push down who they are and who they want to serve and their unique value proposition of like, look at this incredible niche I am serving.
That's right.
And by letting that one detractor get in your head and you play small, you are now hiding from all the people that you are actually meant to serve, from all the people that would actually maybe don't even have a hunting dog, but like, yeah, that is awesome to see dogs doing what they're bred to do. Like, I love this person. You make more connections. So whenever you are, going to be, I don't know, the chocolate cinnamon flavor ice cream instead of vanilla.
Yeah.
For instance, I don't like the strawberry ice cream. I could tell you right now, Heather, because it's fruit. So,
oh gosh, here we go.
Somebody's going to be out there peddling fruit ice cream, and I'm going to say no, thank you.
Yes,
but I won't judge them personally.
Yeah,
maybe
so
some
what?
people would, but I would not judge you for liking strawberry ice cream. But regardless, anyway, if we are true to who we actually are, we are going to attract people and we're going to repel some people. And it's
every day.
Okay. It's okay. I think if you are not doing that, like if you don't occasionally get a comment of it's too expensive or something like that, then you're not actually putting yourself out there enough to actually attract your people. The same thing, I was having a coaching call in Elevate the other day, talking to somebody about, feeling like they couldn't actually express who they are to their potential clients. And I'm like, listen, it's not photography related, just like worldly view related. And I'm like, you can put that out there and you're going to attract people who are going to love it or they're not going to like it.
That's
but the
right.
people that weren't going to like it weren't necessarily going to buy from you anyway. So you really have nothing to lose. You just have to make sure that your brain is ready.
That's right.
For when you see that occasional comment, that you don't allow it to get under your skin, which is easier said than done. And you're going to have a moment where it does, and you question everything, and then it goes to anger, and then you have to choose what you're going to focus on.
That's right. Even Nicole is human, and she had a moment.
Shocking.
Yeah, but it was like 2.3 seconds in my book. It was a day, but it was a pretty big situation.
Yeah.
And, you're right. If you're not occasionally getting someone saying something negative, then you're probably playing too small. Mm-hmm. You're not being authentic enough. Mm-hmm. If you are authentic and you love hunting dogs, then you need to shout it from the rooftop. You actually need to turn up the volume on that, on the things that you love. Be unabashedly true to who you are. And you're right, people will be attracted to it. But can you be okay with a comment from somebody who says, I hate you, I was going to pay you, and now I'm not, you're the worst? Like, that's about as harsh as it gets, So could you be okay with that? And I'm telling you, it would just crush some people.
Well, I'm fairly hardened to that kind of stuff. And it got me. I mean, there are people in there saying, I'm canceling, I was going to join, I'm not, like all this stuff. And I just could focus on that and change, question the decisions that I've spent years making. Right. And know in my heart and soul that's the right move for my business and my clients, both paid and free community. And so it was my choice where to focus on that. So you just need to be prepared for it and then remind yourself that you get to choose where you focus.
I think that is the best advice. I'm so glad we decided to do this, and also recognize that out of 179 comments, there were a lot of good ones. It's just people who are upset tend to be more vocal. That's always the case across the board. Restaurant reviews, book reviews, always the case. The minority tends to be more vocal. And somebody said, I was sort of dancing with someone, going back and forth. That's what I do. And somebody said, well, isn't she, taking into consideration all of this feedback? And I said, well, a couple of posts against over 14,000 members.
Yeah.
Like, what percentage is that? Of course, I'm going to read it and consider it, but I'm looking at the percentage of people that are fine. And there are people that are ambivalent. They're in the middle. They don't care. Okay, whatever. They might come, they might not. There's a few people that are angry, and then the rest are mostly happy. So why would I focus my attention on the 0.01%? Why would I do that? And because they're nasty. They're angry.
Because the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
That's it.
I mean, it's just, that's what our brain is going to focus on, that because that means we're going to get kicked out of the tribe and we are going to starve and die.
You will die.
You will get mauled by the bear.
Yeah, you will. So you recognize that, and you I picture you almost like shaking it off. Like, when a dog comes in from the rain, like shaking it off and saying like, okay, that sucks. I wish that didn't happen. But I stand behind my decision. I'm going to focus on these people who are already over there on Circle, who are having conversations, who love it, who are so thankful that you removed the distraction of Facebook for them, that those people, Nicole, they will be loyal to you forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the people who are angry, they weren't anyway.
Yeah. No, for real. And again, it's just like, you have to ask yourself, all right, what's my motivation? My motivation and my intention for having that big Facebook group in the first place was to help people. And I was unable to do so. So now that I can help people so much better, even if it's a smaller number, it's actually a bigger impact.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I said
so
it.
So good. It's true. Bigger impact. Yeah. And you feel, okay, so now that you've worked through this, what's the feeling? What's the emotion?
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm just there. I haven't looked back at all.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
I am. That was challenging. I am fairly certain I would have been a little bit more impacted than, like I said, I was more impacted on your behalf. So if that happened to me directly, I would have, I tend to personalize things. So I'm working on it, but it is personal because it is your business and right.
Yeah.
But you did it. You did it. And now, by the way, when you make these macro decisions, if they do go sideways, I would argue it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because now moving forward, you are less, not that you were, but people will be less afraid of bigger decisions because they will say to themselves, well, actually my worst fear happened and I handled it.
Yeah.
Which means I can handle anything. So then you get more brave, you're bolder, more courageous. You'll do things because you know that you can figure it out. And you know that you know, even when it's difficult, that you can shift your attention.
Yeah. And
Brilliant.
I think in your heart when it's the right decision.
Yes.
And you just can't listen to all this external stuff saying that it's wrong. For instance, like when you're setting up your pricing and your friends and family tell you that no one's ever going to pay that for a dog photo, you're crazy. Okay. You know, because you have learned that, what it takes to be profitable. So anyway,
right.
You have to be secure in those decisions and choose who and what you're going to focus on.
Right.
Anyway,
you are the real deal, my friend. I'm proud of you. That was not easy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks everybody for hanging with us today, for peeling back the curtain behind the scenes on a stressful change, but all for the better, all good. Also, shameful plug that if you need help making decisions in your business, we are going to be opening another round of Elevate. We are going to be having 2 levels of Elevate, the Elevate Masters and the Elevate Fundamentals, coming up March 1st. It's going to be amazing.
Very exciting.
And that's basically what we do in there. We talk you through decision making.
And I'm there to help you. And I'm also there to give you a good kick in the pants.
And Heather's most loving kick in the pants way.
Yes.
That's the best. Everybody loves to get a Heather's pants kicking. Oh, anyway, Details on that will be up soon. Jump on the wait list at hairofthedogacademy.com/elevate. Heather and I are actually going to be hosting a training. Oh my gosh. I think the day that this goes live, like right now, if you're listening Tuesday morning, it's going to be February 15th at 1 p.m. So come join us at hairofthedogacademy.com/overwhelm. And we are going to be talking about dismantling overwhelm. So very, very exciting. Anyway, that's a lot of links I just threw at you. Hopefully check them out. And of course, come join us on our circle community, hairofthedogacademy.com/circle or /community. Ding, 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 /community. Anyway, my goodness. Thank you again, Heather, for being here for another incredible podcast episode. And everybody else, have a great week, and we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, go ahead and take a screenshot of this episode on your phone and post it up there on your Instagram stories, and be sure to tag us at Hair of the Dog Academy. And we would just love to see how you're listening. And full disclosure, sometimes we just like to give away a little pet photographer swag in the form of Hair of the Dog t-shirts and sweatshirts. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and share that screenshot of this episode. And don't forget to tag us at Hair of the Dog Academy. And while you're there, maybe you want to jump on over to our account and see what we're up to on the gram. Would love to connect with you. Thanks for listening to the Hair of the Dog podcast. This was episode number 129. If you want to check out the show notes for access to any of the resources that we mentioned, simply go to www.hairofthedogacademy.com/129.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Hair of the Dog podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to leave a review. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. One last thing, if you are ready to dive into more resources, head over to our website at www.hairofthedogacademy.com. Thanks for being a part of this pet photography community.